Hi everybody, welcome to my Preakness preview. Thank you for watching my Derby preview where my horses that I had mentioned were keys finished second, third, and fourth. Such is life. It was kind of a strange scenario end of the week with all the scratches, and that definitely did move Mage up into the contender list after the defections. Anyway, let's move toward the Preakness and take a look at what we have going on in this race. We have pars of 95, 105 early, a late 94, and a 105 final. Let's see how the horses stack up on the Briss summary. Unsurprisingly, Mage is right on top. First Mission right underneath. National Treasure, Red Route 1, and then a little bit of a drop off there. And I just after first glance, that's kind of how the horses look to stack up. Anyhow, I do have a horse I'm going to consider to be the key in a primary win bet, and that is going to be National Treasure, and I'll get into the reasons for that. First thing I want to do, though, I usually want to try and see if I can determine the pace scenario of the race, kind of separate the early speed and get the front runners figured out and take a look at how the race is potentially going to stack up. And I'm going to do that first. We're going to walk through the horses and just take a look going up through the PPs. Who looks like they may be a contender and who might have some early speed. Okay, new shooter, First Mission for Brad Cox. This guy looks pretty legitimate. He's got a nice balanced profile of running style where he's fast early and fast late, and he ran 103 in the Lexington Grade 3. It's a notch below the class level of the other primary contenders, but he is an improving horse and is definitely a contender here. Blazing Sevens, I'm not sure why this horse is 6-1 on the morning line. I think he should be the one that's 10-1, and Red Route 1 should be the one that's 6-1, just based on their performances so far. But they both have this closing running style, and they're going to fit better for underneath in this race. This race generally goes to the speed horses, and it's a good candidate here to get a potential wire jab. So far that we've got First Mission shows some speed, gets out near the leaders at the first call, but a little bit light on that E2, E1, E2 number compared to a couple of these other guys. So we're going to look into that a little bit more. Okay, Red Route 1. I kind of like Red Route 1 as the best closer. Horse is improving nicely in his 3-year-old season, stepping forward 4 times, and really good solid fit for underneath. For another potential underneath, I do like Perform. McGahee is just so good. The one thing that bothers me about this one is it took so many races to break its maiden, and it finally had to go to Tampa and do that at 7 furlongs. Although now in its 3-year-old season, the horse is stepping up and improving. Red Route 1, as we said. Now here's the speed in the race is this guy right here, Coffeewithchris. Looking at this guy, though, from October of past of his 2-year-old season, he's been running every month, if not twice, straight through with 8 races since that last break. And now he definitely is a listed stakes specialist. It looks like he's found his level here because he's done his best running, first or second, in those type of races, these $100,000, $125,000 stakes, where he seems to do pretty well. But I think this is a horse that has found his level and peaked, and I don't really see him being able to jump up and even come close to having a shot to win this race. And he's a little bit light compared to National Treasure. You look at the race rating class level, they've been around a 114, 115. The better horses are running in the 116 to 118 races. Okay, Mage is a legitimate favorite. Tends to like to come off the pace. Now, won the maiden race in the debut on the lead in the sprint. So this horse is versatile. It can run, looks like it can run any style, and it's a legitimate favorite, but I want to bet against because his tendency is not to break fast but to come out slower, and I want a horse that's going to be up on the lead in this particular race at this track. Chase the Chaos, I really don't understand why this guy is even in here. He's a turf and poly horse. The two dirt races are not very inspiring at all. Now, National Treasure looks like the key horse to me. If you look at his pattern, the debut at Del Mar, pretty nice, easy win at 6.5 furlongs. Came back and stretched out in October in the American Pharoah of the 2-year-old season and ran a really nice race in this route. I mean, this is really a great race, and this horse has not stepped up and improved on this yet in his 3-year-old season. So this guy, based on this pace and this final number back from last October, this guy has a chance to really run a big race soon. Then he went to the BC Juvenile, finished a very respectable third behind Forte and Cave Rock, and ended up having a wide trip. So nothing really wrong with that. Laid off, came back in January in the Sham, ran a decent race, but he was bumped a little bit just past the quarter pole and ended up missing by a length off of that layoff. Then he's laid off again and then brought back for the Santa Anita Derby, where I was looking for this horse to step forward, and he ended up finishing fourth by 2 3/4 lengths. But he did have a significant amount of trouble in this race that cost him at least that much. He was bumped at the start, then he was 3 wide, and he was blocked at the quarter pole and had to kick it back just a notch and didn't have a chance to get back enough to get into the money there. But this guy, looking at the pace numbers, he's got 102, 106 here, 103, 107 there as a 2-year-old. Looking at Coffeewithchris and his pace numbers, he's run similar numbers in actually only in the one route. The rest of them were sprints. You kind of have to discount those sprint numbers there with the pace. So he's only got the one in the last stat in the Federico Tizio. So National Treasure outclasses this guy quite a bit based on the level of competition. You can see what I'm talking about with the race rating. He's got the 116 Santa Anita Derby. The Sham and BC Juvenile were 118s. The American Pharoah, even as a 2-year-old, was a 117. So Coffeewithchris just doesn't stack up. And there's really not other speed in this race. Going back through these 8 horses, First Mission looks like a potent win candidate, but again, his tendency is to sit a little bit off the lead, and he's got a more even distribution. He's a little bit slow early, and may not be able to run somebody down like National Treasure on this track. So I look for National Treasure from the one post and getting the rail to get out and jump to the lead and have wire potential in this field. Looking at this blinker move, of course he's back to Baffert now after the one race, with Tim Yakteen. But he's got the rail. The blinkers, I don't know how much the blinker is really going to matter to this guy going on or off. He's won with them on. He's run well without them. Yeah, he only does have the maiden win, but he does have some valid reasons for not winning in the two important races. I'll give him the one off the layoff, as I kind of think that was more of a prep for the Santa Anita Derby for him, just to get him a race before coming back to that. But I look for him to get a good break out of the gate with Johnny V. The other thing we got to take a look at is the lasix factor. So Coffee with Chris is going to be going off of lasix here, where he had lasix for his last three, and his races without lasix are a little bit lesser than the last three where he did have the lasix. So he's not running as strong numbers. He's showing the pace, but his late pace figures really fall off, and that's even in the shorter 7 furlong races. So this horse probably not going to be able to go the distance here without the lasix. And he looks like a sprinter with more of a sprint pedigree there. And really, as far as the speed goes, First Mission looks like he's going to be a little bit more of a pressing style. So I think if anyone is going to be able to catch National Treasure, it would be First Mission with First Crack. And then, of course, Mage will be coming. But Mage is going to probably be even or so, maybe even less. And I got to try to find a little bit of value in here. And National Treasure looks like that opportunity, because he looks like the one runner in here with the chance to really improve, and I'm looking at that based on this American Pharoah race. And he's had trouble in a couple of those other ones, and he's got no excuse to have any trouble in this race. So he's got the rail, he's got the draw, he's got no speed next to him in the 2 and 3 hole. Coffee with Chris will be coming out of the 4 hole, but if National Treasure gets a decent break, he should be in really good position. Even if Coffee with Chris gets out and gets in front of him a bit, National Treasure will probably just sit right on his hip, and he'll be able to go right with him at that at a faster pace. And on this particular track, it's going to be hard to catch and pass that guy, because they usually have this track tuned for speed on Preakness Day. So really looking for National Treasure to get the job done here. The best underneath odds horse to hit second or third is probably Red Route 1. And then, of course, you've got to be looking at First Mission and Mage. One of them for sure is going to probably hit the top 3. So that's how I'm kind of looking at it. The only one I'm going to consider to win is probably National Treasure.